What's up, everybody?
The floor for Coach Hafley, second row left, Bill from the Athletic.
Jeff, the way you guys align your defense, playing one high safety a lot of the time, we know that Sean is a good cover guy and he has to cover in that position, but how important is it to have a guy who can get involved in the run game the way that he can, play as physically as he can, so that at times he can essentially function as a fourth linebacker out there for you?
You're talking about Sean, the way he lines up on the inside?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Anytime you ask a guy to play that position, it's not just for coverage. There's times when he has to bump into the box and sometimes play the B or the A gap. So he does have to be pretty physical. He has to be pretty smart. He has to understand the scheme, the run game and the pass game. So there's a lot that does go into that position.
Is it rare to find a guy who can do all the things that you're asking Sean to do right now?
Well, anybody that we ask to fill in that spot has to be able to do those things. I think it helps that Sean is really athletic. He's got good size. He can tackle. He can cover. And he works really hard at it. But anybody that we're going to ask to play that specific position, we're going to ask to do the same thing.
Front row middle, Dave from 24/7.
Jeff, how is Josh Proctor coming along, and especially with Isaiah Pryor transferring? Does that? I mean, I know Jordan's, he's the guy out there, but does that help Josh's chance to get playing time? And just how is Josh doing?
I think Josh has made really good improvement since the time we all got here. He understands the scheme. He's worked really hard. He's done a good job. He's done a good job on the field and in the classroom. And I think you see we used him early in the season. He got a little bit more playing time the last few games, and hopefully that will continue to happen. He's done a nice job.
Northwestern's used a couple of quarterbacks. Hunter Johnson started the year off for them. It looked like last game they went to Aiden Smith. I mean, I'm sure you guys are preparing for both quarterbacks. What do you see from those guys?
Well, I think Hunter Johnson, obviously started off at Clemson, was a backup there, and then he transferred. And, from everything I've read, was one of the highest recruited players coming out in the country. I think he's talented. He's got size. He's got good arm strength. Both can run the football. So, we're looking at them both. We're preparing for them both. They both do things well. They have similarities, but they're good football players.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Jeff, you guys have put Cam Brand out there before, obviously, the Michigan State game, but he had to play that whole second half. What did you think of that performance from him?
I thought he did a good job. It's never easy to just, come into the game from the bench and play as many snaps as he did. So I think he did a really good job. I think Cam's a guy who's worked really hard. I think he might have maybe improved the most out of all the guys from the time that we got here until now. And that's a credit to a lot of people in the weight room, off the field, to our coaching staff, to the young coaches, really for working with him. But he's really developed and he's really grown up. And the way he practices, I wasn't surprised at the way he played, because he puts that on tape every day we go out there against really good players. And he did the same thing last Saturday night.
When you guys get down to that second or third corner, what's your comfort level with the depth? And Cam Stuff is part of that.
Very comfortable with those guys. They work hard. They do everything we ask to do. And whoever we put on the field, I have a lot of confidence in. And I was very confident in Cam going in the game.
Third row left, Dan from 11 Warriors.
Jeff, you were asked about Sean and his position. I know that he's a guy who played a little bit of outside cornerback too. You were asked about Cam. Is that still something you look at where, if you needed to, Sean could still go outside and play outside if he needed to?
Yeah, there's no doubt Sean could play outside. And there's some snaps where he has played outside. There's some games where I still think he will play outside. I think he could be a very good outside corner. It's just right now, the things we're asking him to do with Damon and Jeff on the outside, he's kind of, we've had those conversations. There's certain games where we almost flipped it around. But for right now, that's where he's been the most. But I think we have the versatility to move all those guys. So you might see him outside at one of these games.
Obviously, he's got a decision to make coming up after this season. Do you talk to him at all about, if you come back next year, this is what your role could be, and would that role potentially be outside?
No, I talked to him about what we have to do at practice today and what he has to get better at. And I'm not ignoring your question, but that's the truth. He still has to get better. We all do. And there's some stuff yesterday we need to work on that I will talk to him about that today. And tomorrow I'll talk to him about tomorrow, and we'll just keep doing that until this thing's over. But we can talk about that at the end of the season.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
You guys are, I think, statistically number one or tied for number one in fewest chunk plays allowed, 30 yards or more. Is there anything inherently defensively that you do or can do about limiting chunk plays? Is it a tackling issue? Is everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing issue? What would be the main thing?
Well, I didn't. That's good that you told me that. I didn't know that. I think it's a credit to our players and the staff, but it goes into a lot of things. I think schematically, the number one thing we talk about when we put in new calls, when we talk about anything, and we'll say it over and over again, we want to eliminate explosives. So if we think a blitz is really, really good, but there's potential for it to give up an explosive, we're not going to put it in. If we feel like there's a really, really good coverage that, say, we want to run on 3rd and 4 to 6, and we really like it against what they're doing, but there's a chance to give up an explosive, we're not going to do it. So everything we think about explosives, because our whole philosophy is we want to make you drive the length of the field. And if you can drive on us the length of the field and then put it in the end zone against us in the red zone, nice job. And then we got to figure out why, and we got to adjust some things. But we can't just give up because we got cute or we got sloppy. So I think that has been built, if that makes sense, on that. So we think about that all the time. Then I think you got to talk about tackling, right? Because a lot of times if you don't get the guy down, it could go for an explosive. And I think we work really hard on tackling. So a credit to the players and the staff on that. And then I think our scheme allows multiple guys to get to the football at the same time, which I think nowadays the way everybody creates space, which you guys see all the time, right? You don't want one-on-one. It's scary. If you miss one tackle and it goes for 50, that's hard. So we also want to look at how can we have coverages, pressures, scheme that in space we're going to have multiple people around the ball. So that's what we try to look at everything we can do. And so it's a combination of a lot of things, but that's good to know because if we can continue to do that and not give up explosives, we've got a chance to be a good defense.
And then Justin Fields on the other side of it, you see a different perspective. What has impressed you about him, his growth, maturity, where he started, where he is now, and how challenging he is in practice even to...
He's really challenging. That's what we noticed in training camp. I mean, the thing that I look at, just really, especially from a back-end guy, the way he sits in the pocket and stays in there and wants to throw the ball down the field, it's not like some of these guys who they hit their back foot, the first read's not there, and he just takes off. He makes you cover for a long time. And then he also has the ability to tuck it down late and run. That's hard to defend. He's thrown the ball really well. It looks, at least, I don't study the tape like our offensive guys do. Now, there's sometimes in the booth, if we're done doing what we're doing, I'll look up and see him doing some pretty amazing things. It looks to me like our receivers are catching the ball pretty well, too. I mean, those guys are doing a great job. But he's hard to defend because he can play the quarterback position. He can sit in the pocket and make all the throws, but then he can run, too. So, at least from my opinion, it's pretty impressive.
3rd row left, Ari from The Athletic.
Jeff, so there hasn't been a moment this year where you sat in the office with Sean and just like, dude, you got to come back next year.
No. Sean's going to come and sit in my office today, and I'm going to get on him for some things he did in practice yesterday. You can come in. I'm just joking. You guys.
What time?
No, but I don't. I honestly, have I ever lied to you guys yet? I don't talk to him about that stuff. I don't.
Are there ever times where you are looking at your depth chart? Because I know you're game planning. You're in a situation where you have to have this team ready every week. We understand that. But obviously you're deeply involved in recruiting, and you can look at the depth chart that we all look at and see there's a good chance or a real chance that you could lose everybody from one group. I mean, is that something that you ever ponder?
You're making me think too far down the road. I think, yes. I think you have to think about the future, or else then I would be lying to you. So you have to prepare for that. I think the way we coach our young guys every single day and how hard we are on them and how demanding we are on them, I think that's preparing us for that. Because we have really good football players in that room besides the guys that you see every single day. And I wish more guys have had the opportunity to play so everybody could see that right now. But they haven't. Maybe you'll see that down the road. But by the way we prepare the guys we have in our room right now, that's the most important part. So those guys are getting coached hard. In the meeting room, it's the same thing. So that's what we really have control over right now, is can we develop those young guys in the room to be ready for when it's their time? Because we don't want them to wait. I talk in the room all the time, like, go challenge Jeff Hafley today. Go challenge Shaun Wade. Don't sit back and wait. Go try to take their job. Do the best you can. And that's what we have to do as coaches, and that's what they have to do as players. But all we can worry about is the guys we have in the room right now. And then when we get the next group in here, then we got to start worrying about them.
2017 recruiting class, Ohio State signed, I think, 6 defensive backs. And it was like one of the best hauls, if not the best haul of defensive backs in a single recruiting class in the history of recruiting. Literally. Now you guys are seeing the benefits of that when you have a top 5 pick potentially in Akuda back there and Sean and stuff. You guys now are assembling a 2020 class, that needs to replace them. When you look at the guys that you guys are bringing in, when you look at the guys who are on your list and the people do these guys have to be game ready, as close to game ready as possible in order to fulfill the idea that, hey, your entire starting secondary could be in the NFL next year?
I mean, you like them to be game ready. I just think that's hard. I think playing, especially if you just use corner, for example, I think it's a hard position to come in and play and be ready. Now, there's exceptions, right? I mean, there's a big jump from the high school to college. You'd like every guy you recruit to be ready. I think when you get them and you see how are they going to react to the speed of the college game, how are they going to react to some of the rule changes, some of the different coverages. So I think there's so much unknown. It's just like being in the NFL, was a rookie corner really ready to come and step in and cover Julio Jones? I mean, it's not everyone is. Even when you draft a guy in the first round, that guy might not be ready to play right away. And sometimes those guys get forced to play too early. So every situation is different, So we'll see. We'll see when guys get here. And I get what you're asking, too. It's just I don't think you can say, yes, they have to be ready. I mean, we got who we got. Let's go coach them as hard as we can and see what we can do.
You can be scared about it too.
I'm not scared.
Nathan from Cleveland.com.
I mean, I guess kind of playing off of that question, did you guys need someone like Cam Brown to sort of step up and assert themselves as, if this happens next year, I'm ready. I'm ready to kind of shoulder this load?
Yeah, what I think, though, I think the point that I'm making is that I'm most concerned about is throw next year away. Like, we have hopefully a lot of football left. So I'm not going to just drop names, but when you take the backup at every position in that room right now, they better be ready to go play on Saturday. And then if they don't get in, they better be ready to play on the following Saturday. Because next year to me is like a lifetime away. I mean, I'm worried about this Saturday. If this guy goes down, he better be ready. If they both go down and both of those guys aren't ready, then I failed as a coach. And to me, that's why it's hard to think about that. But no, we got to get all those guys in that room ready. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter where they are in the depth chart right now. And that's a job as a coach, and that's a job as a player, and that's what we're working for.
Ryan said that as recently as like 6 or 7 months ago, he didn't think Cam was ready for this opportunity. Was there something you said to him, any conversations you had with him early on to kind of help get him headed in this direction? Or?
Not one specific conversation. When I got here, it was just trying to get to know everybody, building relationships, building trust, which takes time. But there's a lot of things that go into which I've learned to coaching in college. Again, there's so many different people that touch people, right? So it's, like I said, it's the strength staff. It's like our interns and our quality control coaches that people don't see or aren't even talked about. Those guys are around those young guys a lot, and they do an unbelievable job. They're in their offices a lot talking to them. They're making sure everything's good with them in school. So in order to really succeed on the field, they got to be in a good place in school. They got to be in a good place mentally. So I think so many things have happened with these young guys where Ryan has put together such a good group of not only coaches, but those younger guys do such a good job that don't get the credit, and they've done an unbelievable job helping them as well. But there's not one specific thing. And it's also Cam has worked so hard academically, just on the field. So I wasn't surprised how he played Saturday because of the work that he put in.
And final couple questions, a couple reporter questions from our right, Bill?
Yeah, I already kind of asked the question that I want to ask. You got another commitment yesterday. I know you can't talk about these guys, but how good do you feel about the group of DBs that you're going to be bringing in next year?
I feel good about them now. We'll see when they get here. I'm confident. I don't think we would have recruited guys unless we really thought we could do something special with them, right? So when we evaluate a guy on a tape, whoever it may be, I mean, we want to feel really good. I mean, this is Ohio State. We want to say this guy's got a chance to be special. And if we don't, then we're not going to recruit him. So we feel all those guys that we are recruiting right now can be special.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Ryan. You've gotten a lot of praise. You guys have played very well, obviously. How important, though, was having a week off to be able to take a step back and say, okay, here's really where we are, and really where are you in terms of defense right now?
Yeah, I think it was a really good time. Just to really sit back and watch the tape again, to see what we're doing well, what we aren't doing very well, looking at personnel, looking at some of our tendencies. I think it was a good time because we're kind of like halfway through, right? So I think it gave us the opportunity to really take a step back, fix some things, maybe improve some things, put people in maybe better positions, and just really get focused on this next week.
Can you say what you're not doing well? Because that's not so apparent.
There's a lot of things we're not doing well that we need to do better. And I'm not just saying that because the perception is we're doing well, but there's a lot of little things we need to do better. And I'm not going to go into all of them because I don't want to give that stuff away. But when I say that to me, defense is about all the little things. It's about taking the right step. It's about lining up with the right leverage. It's about being in the right gap. It's about having your eyes in the right place. And to me, it's about a process, not always the result on defense. Because sometimes the result is misleading. Sometimes it might look great. We might have an interception. We might have a blown coverage on the other side of the field that nobody sees, right? Because some of that stuff happens. So you gotta make sure that you don't just look at the result and say, wow, these guys are really good at this. But no, you're not really good at some stuff. You need to clean up the little things so the big ones don't get you later. And that's the biggest thing that we had to look hard at. And the players need to see that, and the coaches need to see it. And I think that's some of the stuff that we saw. The process has to get better. The results, yeah, they've been good so far. But we need to do the little things to make sure those big things happen.
And final questions, front row right. Joey from the Dispatch.
You mentioned just by facing Justin Fields in practice that he'll make your defense cover for a long time. On the opposite side of the ball, you have Chase Young, who would seem to make you guys cover for a very short amount of time, because of how he can get to a quarterback. In what ways does having a player like that affect everything else you're doing on defense?
It affects a lot because I'll give you an example. When you watch tape, a lot of routes look really good. There's a lot of deeper developing routes that happen down the field that you sit there and you watch early in the week and you say, if they can run that one, that's going to be really tough. And then you look at another one, you say, wow, if they can run that one, that's going to be really tough. And then you start to realize when the D-line gets after people, those deeper developing routes, they don't exist. They have to go to shorter routes and quicker concepts, which you guys have seen. So having players like that up front, they help out a lot because you don't have to defend all those deeper things that happen down the field that are harder to defend, which is why I say that your secondary is only as good as the guys up front because they take a lot of that stuff away.
Great. Coach, thank you very
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buckeye IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.